All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 20th day of June, 2019. Well, if this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. And if you've come back, thank you, thank you, thank you. I so appreciate everybody coming and joining our Tarot and Rune family as we explore how all of these wonderful influences affect our lives and can inform our way forward together. Because that seems to be the trend. We're moving away from the us versus them experience and into the shared purpose, and we want to return to that unified consciousness that is all of us. The us versus them aspect, that's an illusion, and it does not reflect our true reality. So that seems to be the trend so far, and we keep building on that each day. So that's kind of exciting. The other is so uncomfortable. So hopefully we're going to move into something that's a little bit better. One thing I wanted to say, I said that I would double check, and I did. I dug out my bigger spiral notebook that has all my stuff in it. Here, for just a cheat sheet, I have a smaller one that I use. But basically, and that's the one I actually started out with, but then I started transferring everything into this, and then I have some other books that, because you always find a better one to use, right? It's an obsession. Anyway, so I can't remember where I got this. It might have been from Donald Craig's Modern Magic, but I'm not sure. But I copied it in here, and it's the Tree of Life as it applies to the tarot, the major arcana. And you can see, I was talking about the High Priestess being below the abyss or dropping into the abyss, and that's this line right here. That's the High Priestess. Well, okay, that's the High Priestess. This one's represented by the Empress. This is the Magus or the Magician, and this is the Fool. But basically, from Tether to Tippereth, she's dropping down into the abyss. It just shows you that the area, anything below the top three is considered the abyss. So, a form. Anyhow, I just wanted to double check that. I couldn't remember if she was the one across or if she was the one going down, but in fact, it's the one going down. So anyhow, I just wanted to show you that and follow up on what I said yesterday. So anyhow, we ended yesterday with Carcer, and I realized that I did not draw that out for you guys. Carcer is the rune of, or not rune, well, the way I do it, it is, but the geomancy rune for self-imprisonment is considered an evil influence because the last thing we want to do is imprison ourselves. But it could also mean imprisonment by someone else, but that's what it looks like. Yeah, it kind of looks like that, doesn't it? You've got an active influence with the single dot on both ends, and then the passive influence. So there's this pressure from above and below, and you're just sitting there, being passive with all of it. So that's self-imprisonment, really, I think. And that's what I think that we need to guard against. And that was the overall theme, I think, of that, where we need to guard against the idea of keeping ourselves in a place that's not healthy. And that's really what Carcer is telling us. But that, again, we're trying to transform. And let's see. We talked about also the as above, so below balance, and the masculine and feminine balance. If you look at in terms of the cross, that's really what the cross represents. It's the vertical line is all about the vertical plane, or spirit versus ego, or the personality, and then on the horizontal plane, that's form. That's the level of form. And so you're looking at what traditionally is thought of as the balance between masculine and feminine. And so we had 4 queens and we had 2 majors, and it was a really nice reading, I thought. It really described how all of that really has to be in balance, with the heaviest weight on spirit, because everything is thought-based. So if everything is thought-based, where is the thought coming from? Is it coming from the ego? Is that our reality? Do we begin there? or do we begin in spirit? So if we begin in spirit and everything's a projection of consciousness and a conscious thought, it all gets maybe disturbed and distorted when we get here, and the ego takes over and starts perceiving those soul level expressions, and the ego says, no, we're going to do it my way. But if everything is projected thought, then how is what we're witnessing here and experiencing here not coming from spirit? Some level of it. And then, we might mess it all up. The ego might do that. But believe me, it begins in spirit. So we might as well just acknowledge that's what we are. Start seeing from that perspective and behaving from that perspective. I don't know. Feels like the most natural thing in the world to do, to get along instead of having conflict. But yet we reach for the conflict, don't we? Except that's changing. Let's take our first card, though, and see what we have for today. Well, we have the Magician. This is about our alchemical beginnings. You see the tools on the table, the pentagram, the sword or athame, the cup, and the wand. You see the lemniscate above his head, indicating the eternal cycle of creation. You see the roses above. You see him holding a scroll high towards spirit, and he's pointing downward toward form. Mercury, sulfur, and salt, I believe, are the alchemical elements. But here we're about to manifest something. Card one is the energy of new beginnings. Today's a 2, so balance, decisions, maybe. Everything's a choice. It's a choice to be separate from one another, to see everyone as the enemy or as the other. It's also a choice to let go of that and see things for how they truly are. That everyone is just the other side of self. Think of it in terms of if you think of it in terms of the tarot, you've got the cards upright, and then you've got them reversed. Now, I don't do reversals. The reason I don't is because when I look at the card, I look at it in its wholeness. So instead of thinking about it in terms of polarity, because if you look at reversals, then you're only considering one aspect of the magician. You're only considering one aspect of the card, whichever card it is. And I like to consider all things. So, the negative side, the other side, or whatever, that's just part of the wholeness of the card. We need to look at humanity in the same way, the wholeness of humanity. So in that regard, everyone then becomes the other side of self, don't they? Or a slice of the pie, maybe. Let's do another card. Well, here we have some betrayal. You see the rain coming down. You see the heart pierced by 3 swords. But you see the middle one is in front. And so in a sense, you've got, some jealousy, you've got some betrayal, you've got 2 hurting the other one, because they're in back. So they're the ones doing the dirty deed, basically. 3 can be about triple aspects. It can be about manifestation. It's a catalytic number. It can be mind, body, spirit in alignment. But in this case, swords is the air element, and it's how we communicate. So, gossip, slander, jealousy, something's being said and done that's upsetting someone. But again, that could either be something that's happening to you in your personal life, or it's something that you're doing, you're engaging in. It's like, what are we going to manifest? We come out with the magician first, what are we going to manifest? Well, apparently it's going to be this drama triangle. Let's do a third card. Well, we have the 9 here of wands. Now, he's been in battle, clearly. You can see the bandage on his head. He's wounded. It's been a struggle. So you can look at victory after struggle, but maybe not a great victory. You don't see any wreaths there or anything. You see the other 8 stabs behind him, and either they're there for support or they're not. Or there's, it's representing, the energies behind whatever struggle that he's had. This is about a battle of wills, essentially. Now, numerologically, this adds up to a 4 energy. 9 and 3 is 12. That's 3 and 1 is 4. And again, the heavy weight is on the magician here. What are we going to manifest? So we've got a drama triangle, which could be interpreted as a battle of wills as well, even though, that would be the fire element. Wands is the fire element. I'm going to double check the grimoire just to make sure there's not some obscure thing I've written down here that might open this thing up. But the 9, 9 is about completion. And so the battle is over, okay? Whatever was going on in the drama triangle, whatever emotions were because, you see the rain behind. So that's the water element. That's emotions. The cards are rarely, even though they are assigned to one particular element, each suit is, they're rarely simply one element in the card. You can see all kinds of things in there contributing to the whole thing. Let's do another card. We'll do 4 today. Well, okay, so we're going to have 2 major cards and 2 small cards. Here we have the 6th card of the major arcana, the Lovers. We see the angel above, the sun above the angel. I love the hair, don't you? We see an oak tree behind the man. And I'm not sure, an apple tree maybe, I'm not sure what kind of a tree that is, but you see it's representing the feminine within. So here we're looking at masculine and feminine polarity and trying to achieve a balance. Again, this is going to be a horizontal plane balance. So typically either in terms of having a balanced relationships with somebody else, or it's the relationship within and the balance within. Will versus, emotion. You have spirit up above here guiding the process, and we can't lose sight of that. It does create an as above, so below setting with the mountain peak reaching up toward spirit, toward the clouds and toward the angel above. We see the serpent, of course. This actually, this can be Lilith and Adam, or Eve and Adam, likely more like or Lilith and Cain maybe, but this could also represent Adam and Eve. You see the serpent winding around the apple tree. The serpent of knowledge, serpent of wisdom. And no, it's not the woman's fault that everybody fell, because all that happened is that we became wise and aware, and thanks to women, that's what happens. It's like we're supposed to stay asleep, and that's not what the overlords who were here at the time, our genetic manipulators, and our creators, what they wanted from us. They wanted us to be servile. And that's what they needed. That's why we were created. We were created as a slave race. And so, and to help them out, what they were here to do in the mines and what have you. As time went on, that same power structure continued, and it continues to this day, where most of us are servile. We have no idea what's going on. We're told what's going on, but most of it's a lie. So we just don't know. And when the magician shows up, we're in full control of our own manifestation. We're in full control of everything, but then we're betrayed. And after a big struggle here, we come out of it on top. We come out victorious. But it's like when you get in an argument with a loved one or a friend or what have you. At the end of it, you're spent, you're exhausted, and even though you might resolve things, it's like, geez, what was that for? You look back on it and you just think, my goodness, why did we go there? How did we let that happen? And that's the thing. We let these things happen, and we either don't stand up and say, no, I'm not gonna tolerate this, or something. But somehow or another, we participate in it by either not setting boundaries or something. And so then we have to then have the battle of wills with people. And every one of us, we've been in that, haven't we? You know more than the other people, and you need to make your voice heard, right? But sometimes that isn't well received. And when that happens, unfortunately, sometimes things really take a nosedive, because the problems that are occurring that the rest of the folks aren't seeing, or maybe they're the ones causing it, they have a reason maybe to keep that stuff going. And then someone else, the outlier, comes in, the whistleblower, the activist, whatever, and says, hey, wait a minute, we can't do that. What are you doing? Well, that's something that never, it doesn't always work out right away. I mean, maybe it takes time for people to come around, but initially you win. And that's what I think you have here. But look at the look on his face. It's an uneasy victory, because it's like, what else is coming? Are we sure it's over? But here we have to come into balance. Maybe it's perception, maybe it's the relationships with others, and we need to have spirit guiding the process instead of allowing ego to do that. That's what gets us into trouble. You have will and emotions and intellect all driving down into form, the earth element. And depending on whether or not we allow spirit to inform that process, or we go straight to the ego and let the ego perceive everything. Well, you can see how the 3 and the 9 come into being. Now we ended up with a 4 with those first 3 cards, and then with the 6, now we have a 10, which reduces to 1. So again, new beginnings, a new approach, a new awareness, a new polarity, a new awareness of who we are together, I would say, given that it's the Lovers. But let's pull a rune out of the bag here. Well, we have Dagaz, the 23rd rune of the Elder Futhark. It's a 5 energy, so change and fulfillment. We're going to draw this one, though, so that you can see the components of this. Again, this is one of those situations where you see the entirety of the rune itself, okay? You don't see, there's no reversal here. You could turn it up, I suppose, and then the energy would be, but then all you're doing there is it's directional, okay? Here, it's energy. This is the coolest interpretation that I've written down. Energy at its saturation point becomes its opposite. You see that? You see how it flows down into the center and then out again, doesn't it? So down into the center, it becomes it's most concentrated, most saturated, and then it expands into something new. All right? Dagaz is about a new day, and it aligns perfectly with all of this. But let's just take a moment here, and I want to show you. I've been kind of doing this to show you folks about runes and how they really do comprise other runic energies when you draw them. It's the same principle as mind runes, and you're bringing energies together and creating something else with it. So there's the gauze. Now, right away in the center, you will see an X, which is Gebo, which is balanced energy exchange. And you can see the balance within the gauze, can't you? It's visually, it's right there. It's a contained experience on the ends, though, isn't it? If you turn it upside down, then see it's the, or flip it. Now the containment is above it, as above and so below, isn't it? That's where the containment is of the energy flow. But here, this is the horizontal plane at this point. Now, so balanced energy exchange, we have a very short laguz, forward and reversed, so allowing, flow, intuition, acceptance of the balanced energy exchange with others. Then lastly, I'm going to put this over on the side here. We have kinas, forward and reversed, over here. Kinas, forward and reversed. This is forward. Light going outward, okay? Otherwise, we're turning the light inward, all right? So if you think about that, balanced energy exchange, flow, acceptance, intuition, light turning outward, light turning inward. Degas, right? I just love it when the rune brings it all together. But let's do a geomancy rune here, and we'll just see what it has to say. Let's see, let me turn this light on down here. I have this light underneath the table. It gives me just a little bit more light to see what I'm doing with all these candles. Uh-oh. One moment. The other part is the heat from the candles. So heat from within and without. I think I'm going to keep that handy. Crone issues already. I haven't had enough of my tea with my tincture in it. Oh, I have to tell you about the, I'll do it at the end. Went to the naturopath, had the acupuncture. Oh my God. Oops. Oh, let's do that one again. I don't have a whole lot of room here to do this. Move this candle. All right. So this is going to go in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. So we've got 2 dots for, well, I've got 2 dots all the way around here. So I don't even have to do it. So that's populace. That's going with the flow. That's allowing. Okay. That's the gauze. All right. Populace is thought of as you got via and you got populace. And one of the things about this, we talked a little bit about this with Carcer. This is populace. So it's a series of dual dots, and that's what it looks like. And that's considered the crowd or people. It's going with the flow. It's a completely passive influence, having the 2 dots, all right? Via means you're going along with a crowd. Via, now, on the other hand, is the opposite of that, and it's a single set of single dots, okay? Now, that is an active principle, so there you're paving your own path, right? But what we need to do here is to get in the flow of the unified consciousness, right? And that's what I think populace is saying. We're manifesting, and we're having to figure out whatever this drama triangle is. And although we have a small victory, I mean, we have won, we have survived, basically. We have to get in balance polarity somehow, either with each other. And so we come together, we allow spirit to inform that process. We have a new day, which describes all of that, balanced energy exchange with others. And then we have populace, going with the flow, coming back into the collective consciousness, coming back into the unity that we are. You see, when you have a shared purpose, when you understand that this is a whole collective thing, that we are all aspects of the Creator here, on behalf of the creator. We're each little dots of creator focus, okay? If you can think of it that way. Creator's looking in my direction, I'm here. Creator's looking in your direction, you're here, etc. I mean, you can think of it any way you need to, but just understand where this energy begins. We're not plopped here and we have to work our way back. We never left. See, that's what we forget. When we come into form, we pass through the veil, like we talked about here. We're passing through the veil and we're coming down here as the high priestess, manifesting the alchemical manifestation from both the fool and the magus or magician. And then when the Empress shows up next, we're creating. We bring all of that into form. So if we were to do that, then the 3 and the 9 basically become us just trying to figure things out. You know, I've said before, just because we're all aspects of the creator doesn't mean that we're all going to agree here. That's not the point. We need that inner friction, that inner nathes, if you will, to make something happen, right? We need that inner friction. Sometimes it could be this experience where somebody's, you know, talking bad about you or trying to sabotage your efforts or something, but they're doing this. And they need to understand, hey, that hurts. Maybe these guys are just standing back there having to just sort of, you know, okay, we're sorry. You know, so the conflict's now over. We figured it out. It might be an uneasy piece, but because of that shared perspective or that shared purpose that we're all part of or supposed to be aware of and actively participating in, we're willing to just stop and figure something out and go that way. So again, you know, balance polarity, balance within and without is really more about the acceptance and awareness of who we are and that we're in this shared experience with each other and that's what it's supposed to be. And so it doesn't need to be us versus them is what I'm trying to say. So we need to understand that we're part of one unified consciousness. And I think Populus is finishing out this reading telling us that. So anyhow, well, groovy. So we stopped a little bit early here today. So I wanted to tell you about my acupuncture experience yesterday. So I've told people before that I had severe rheumatoid arthritis for 13 years and I became a cannabis patient and 2.5 months into my treatment. On that, I went into remission, something the doctors never do. All right. You can read about it in Confessions of a Back Porch Herbalist. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. Otherwise, it's $2.99 at Amazon, either Kindle. And I think I might have charged the same amount for the book. I don't know. Anyway, if you want the paperback of it. But it just tells how I did that and then how I continue to remain in remission with cannabis and also traditional herbs. I'm an herbalist. But one of the things that happened when I was ill, I fell. It was back in 2003, and I hurt my knee. I tore the meniscus in my knee. I discovered on the x-rays that I also had another torn meniscus. There's 2 in your knee, an inside one and outside one. The outside one likely happened in karate. My husband knee checking me or something. And I might have just moved just right, you know, and it got it. And just a little small tear. But the other one, the inside one's torn halfway in 2. That's the one that happened when I fell. Well, over time, given this was 2003, you know, that was like 13 years ago, 16 years ago. What was it? Yeah, 16 years ago. So if I sit for any length of time, and because I was somewhat sedentary when I was really ill, not completely. I mean, I moved around, but it was hard. I used a cane. It was awful. But the tendons behind the knee shorten or tighten up, in effect shortening. So then if I sit for any length of time, if I get up and walk, I limp until I walk it out. But then I walk it out and it's fine. They stretch back out. But my knee has never been the same, right? Because the RA, the autoimmune stuff, attacks it and destroys it. So anyway, so I decided to go to have some acupuncture done. And it was the first time I've ever actually had acupuncture done. I've had acupoint therapy in the past, but not acupuncture. And so I went in there and I laid down on the table, and she's got this amethyst mat, seriously, that you lay on, and there's heat coming up through it. So the amethyst is amplifying that. And it was all, I mean, it's huge, right? And you're laying on it. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever felt in my life. And then she did the acupuncture, and it was great. And I've been able to get up and just walk. Yeah, just walk. Now, she did my elbow too. She did a lot. She did all the places that she normally does. Plus, then she focused on my knee and my elbow, and also the end of my finger, because I had a man in his 60s shake my hand and damage my knuckle. This is small, actually. It used to be 3 times the size for the first 3 years. And when the swelling one day just reduced, I woke up, the swelling was gone and there were nodules left. And so my fingers all deformed from it. And so she treated that too. But the best results so far have been on the knee. I'm going to go back in a month and do another treatment. But I have to tell you, it was the most amazing thing. And I'm so glad I did it. So I highly recommend it. You know, if you have areas on your body, if you have arthritis or any of that, you know, if you have back problems, you know, if you have joint issues, get some acupuncture done. It increases the blood flow, increases the energy, it increases healing, and increases mobility. So this one arm I can't straighten out yet. I can this one, but not this one. But I have a feeling that over time, with more treatments, that's going to happen. If I can achieve what I did with this knee, and I don't know that it's not temporary. It might be, and I might have to have a few more, but I don't feel like I'm going to have a whole lot. And I think between that and stretching, like as much of the stretching as I do, together, working maybe with console ones on it, continuing to Reiki the knee, I think if I take a multi-prong approach to this, then I may be able to actually not struggle so much when I get up out of the car. When I get up, we go to the grocery store, I get out of the car, I can't walk right away. So it's just one of those leftovers, and I wasn't happy with it. So I went, and it worked out really well. So I'm very happy, and we're also going to do some testing and make sure my gut bacteria is okay. I'm only doing herbs now to keep my RA in remission, and cannabis to keep it in remission. So we want to make sure that the foods that I'm eating are not permeating that membrane there, that there's just a thin membrane that protects your stomach and your immune system, because about 70% of your immune system is contained in the gut. And so there's like this membrane, this single cell membrane or something, and it gets permeated. And when that happens, that's when autoimmune stuff starts happening. So we want to make sure that that's intact and not permeated. And there's some tests you can do now that actually show you that. So we're going to do some of that and give me a little more information about some of the stuff I might tweak a little bit in what I'm doing here, but on my own. But all in all, it was a great experience. I highly recommend it. So anyhow, there's that. So anyhow, I will not see you again until Monday. And be good to yourself. Be good to one another. Get outside. Do some earthing in the ground. Take your shoes off. Run your feet through the grass. Connect with Gaia. Connect with Mother Nature. We'll see you next week. Blessed be.